And we are live for the 40th episode of the Bronx Bomber Battle podcast. I'm your host, Matt Loves Luigi, and tonight it's me and G. What up, G?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going great. The Yankees just annihilated the Orioles. They've seemed to do that a lot this year. They've been doing that a lot recently. I think that was their 12th series win out of the last 13 or something along those lines. The first place New York Yankees, they're no longer, they're still kind of the New York Rail Riders, but they're not because they're the first place New York Yankees. That's what we're going to call them now. They just swept the Orioles over a 4-game set. Comebacks, homers, blowouts. This series had it all. It was some fun baseball. At certain points, a couple of those games looked like we were going to take L's, but man, this team, like we said all year, they're resilient. They fight back. They don't quit. I think in 2 of the games of the series, the last game of the series, they scored all their runs beyond the 6th inning. And that's just what type of team they've been this year. But, gee, how you feeling after watching that series? Baltimore, it's always tough to watch Orioles baseball because, goddamn, some of those games were real ugly, especially that first one.
Yeah, look, I said on Sunday's show that I would like for them to win 3, and they exceeded my expectation.
They did, and then they won another one.
And it's hard to put too much stock because it's the Orioles and they're really just terrible. But they're major league players, and they got some hits, and some of these games were close. For like you said, it looked like they might take an L in a couple of these.
A couple of those games were very close throughout, and one game they almost blew. Right, one game was just breezing along, and then all of a sudden it's a tie game. But yeah, they weren't just 4 easy wins, right?
No, but you could tell. Obviously they're at different stages in terms of competing, but the Yankees, man, they just abused the Orioles pitching this series. They were just crushing the ball at times. At all the right times, really. Any key moments of the game, they were just hitting bombs, man.
Yeah, a lot of timely hits, a lot of big flies. But yeah, let's get into it. The series started with them. I didn't even want to say a less than stellar performance because that would be giving it too much credit, but an absolutely dreadful performance from J Happ. It was J Happ versus Andrew Cashner. Cashner once again pitched pretty well against the Yanks. He seems to be doing that a lot this year. But J Happ he was just getting mauled. Gives up 2 runs in the first, 2 homers in the third, more runs in the 6th. He ends up going 3 2/3, 9 hits, 6 runs. The Yanks were down 6-1 after 4. The 1 run was from a Gleyber home run. That's not the last time you'll be hearing that this show. He did that a few times this week. Gary gets an RBI single in the 6th. Morales grounds out, but it scores a run. So the Yanks, chipping away, clawing their way back 6-3. Orioles get another run to make it 7-3, but 2 runs in the 7th, another Gleyber homer in the 8th, a Hicks sac fly in the 9th to tie the game. And then who else comes up 2 on in the 9th, facing Givens? Gary Sánchez takes a 98-mile-per-hour fastball and just drives it to left field, just absolutely rips it. 10-7, that would be your final. Yanks come all the way back in this one. Chappie closes the door to get the save, 3 Ks. What a great win by the this was probably one of the worst starts of the season from your starting pitchers. Even by J Happ standards this year, this was just a brutal start for him. And just to claw your way back and just to score. This was a game the Yankees scored 1 run from innings 1-5, and then from the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings they scored 9 runs. Just an incredible comeback. Yes, the Orioles are bad, and yes, there were several situations that that they just really kind of gave the game to the Yankees. For example, in the 9th inning, the catcher, I think it was Severino, there was a pop-up that Voit had, and he just completely missed it, right? He just completely missed it. I think would have got him out of the inning. And as a result, Voit walked. Gary gets up and hits the homer. And look, Yankees still probably – go on, G?
That was just utterly mind-boggling. Like it was, he missed it, might not even like hit bounce off his glove. He literally missed it by like a few feet.
I audibly, when that happened, I audibly said, "Oh my god," because it was just like you just couldn't believe how far away he was from that ball. But yeah, look, there's no guarantee. Like I said, like the Yankees still probably win that game, even if he catches that ball, the game stays tied. But like you want to talk about like a direct, like something directly happening, and man, I mean, look, those are the types of things that bad baseball teams do, and goddamn, the Orioles are a bad baseball team. Sessa came in after Happ, then it was Holder, Britton, Chapman. Bullpen was pretty good today. Sessa gave up a run, but overall he did his job. Holder, Britton, and Chappie all shut it down. But yeah, just another comeback win for this Yankees team. Feels like they've had so many of them in the past few weeks, but and this was just the beginning of the Gary Sánchez and Gleyber Torres show, because on Tuesday, Domingo Germán versus Hess, and man, I actually felt bad for Hess this game because we thought J Happ had a bad start. Hess just got. I mean, you want to talk about getting mauled? This guy got mauled by Happ got mauled by a small pack of wolves. Hess got mauled by a large, angry pack of wolves. I mean, first inning, Gary Sánchez just picks up right where he left off. Right, another 3-run homer to left. It's 3-0 out of the gate. Gio Urshela gets an RBI double in the fourth. Clint Frazier gets a 2-run homer in the third. And then guess what? In the fifth, he decides to join the multi-homer party. He hits a 3-run shot. It makes it 9-0 in the fifth inning. The Orioles would score a few runs here and there. Gary and Gleyber would both get RBIs in the sixth. The final score in this one was 11-4. Germán gets the win. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. He was all right, but really don't have to be all that great when your team scores 9 runs for you in the first 5 innings. David Hale through the last 4 innings of this one. They recently added him back. 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 strikeout. Did a nice job. But man, the ball was just flying out of Camden Yards, and I know Ken Singleton always talks about how it's a really good hitter's park and the ball flies out of there. But Jesus Christ, like it's a combination of being a hitter's park and also the fact that the Orioles just have such a bad pitching. I mean, their pitching is so bad. Like I've said before, their hitting is actually decent. It's solid. It's major league level, major league average, I should say. But man, that pitching it's been bad. But this year especially, like they don't have a single good arm in that entire staff, and it showed in these first couple of games especially.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it like, I don't know. I'm drawing a line here, but like back when Citi Field, for the Mets opened up, and it was just like big, cavernous, deep and tall walls, and people are saying like, the Mets, they couldn't hit home runs in their own ballpark, and then the Yankees would roll in and just hit home runs all over the freaking place. Like they didn't have any problems. Like people hit home runs at Camden Yards, but some of the home runs the Yankees were hitting this week were different kind of home runs. Like they were shots.
Yeah. I read a stat that the Yankees in like their 7 games at Camden Yards this season have almost as many home runs and just in those 7 games as the Marlins do like all season. Like it's close. It's like 6 home runs off. It's pretty incredible. My God, like you really just like the stat about like obviously we'll get more into Gleyber, but like just the fact that like literally almost 90% of Gleyber Torres' home runs this season have come against the Baltimore Orioles. And like, look, we talk like you could easily say like obviously dumb people on Twitter will say, oh well, the Yankees are just doing this against bad teams. Well, guess what? That was their problem last year. We didn't do this against bad teams last year. It seemed like we would alternate between taking 2 or 3 and then, losing 2 or 3 to bad teams last year. Like that's what it always felt like. And then we would play up to the competition, but against teams like the Orioles, we just were not playing like this. And it's just nice to see we have a great record against teams that are below 500 right now. this is part of it. Just, hey, hitting home runs against bad pitchers. That's what good hitters do, right? No good hitter who hits 45 home runs, those 45 home runs aren't going to be all against Cy Young winners or All-Stars. You got to take advantage of the bad pitchers, and goddamn, the Yankees are doing that so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off by saying the primary comeback to saying, it's against this team. Like the first comeback that everyone always says is you only play who's on your schedule. So I mean,
that's all you can do, right? Is beat the guy in front of you.
Yeah, I think it's the Orioles. You're definitely not going to see them in the playoffs, but like
you never know.
It's something that we complained about last year, and it was true because the Orioles were definitely a thorn in the Yankees' side last year. They won 6, 7, or 8 games against the Yankees last year, something like that. Like it was annoying, and the Yankees still went to the playoffs. Like, but especially now that the Red Sox are coming on, like it's good to see them not only beating these teams, but like really beating them because it's those are the teams that, if anything, will provide that cushion as the season goes on.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Game 3. Big CC on the hill up against Dan Straley. Dan Straley. Let's just say Dan Straley's ERA after this game was 9.09. He didn't pitch well. Tyro Estrada gets the home run in the second inning, start the Yankees off. DJ LeMahieu gets another homer in the second. It makes it 4-0. And then guess what? Third inning, Gleyber Torres gets up and he hits another home run. And goddamn, I'm just gonna play the audio from this clip. This was the Orioles announcer. What's his? I'm forgetting his name right now. He's a popular announcer. Gary Thorne. Gary Thorne.
That's the guy.
Slipped my mind. Gary Thorne. This was his call after Gleyber Torres' first home run of the game on Wednesday night. This is gold.
Runs 4 hits in that ball game. 2 of the runs earned. In the air to right field. Mancini going back on the ball by Torres. Way back, up, and I don't even know. Goodbye, home run. I mean, last 2 at-bats, he's hit home runs numbers 11 and 12 on the season, and now has 10 home runs against the Orioles.
I mean, just like they're just the sound of defeat in his voice. I mean, he's a good announcer, but I mean, you could tell he couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable.
The fact that they were definitely laughing just makes it even better.
And the Orioles, they actually let up another home run to Gary Sánchez in the fourth, the ball that went 440 feet. Just to add insult to injury, Gary Thorne was also just very upset about that. But in the fifth inning, Gleyber Torres gets up again, and I don't know what else to say other than I'm just going to play a second call.
Torres pumps that one in the air. That's to left center field. Wilkerson back. I don't know. Goodbye home run. You cannot imagine this happening in Major League Baseball or any other place in baseball. I mean, he is just unstoppable, and it's all home runs against the Orioles, and it is 5-0.
Oh man, my mistake. That was I think I switched home run calls. I think that was the first one, and the other one was the second one. But yeah, those were the 2 home run calls, and yeah, just both just incredible clips. Both went pretty viral. 10 home runs in 12. I think it's 11 games. I don't think he played in the 12th game. 10 home runs in 11 games against Baltimore. I mean, it's unbelievable. Any team you do that against, I don't care how bad they are, that's impressive. And Gary's not far behind him either.
No. I mean, we'll talk more about those, I guess, numbers specific, but in the later part of the show. But it's absolutely absurd. Like the fact that they play the Orioles, whatever it was, 12 times in the first month and a half, 2 months this season, is it's pretty great for the Yankees considering all the injuries that you get to face. A softer team that many times while your team is a little bit banged up. But it's really, really just absurd that it's that's probably about as good as any player is going to do against any team across the league for the whole season. Like,
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy about the Yankees and the Orioles. The fact that they lost 2 of their first 3 to Baltimore at the beginning of the season, and since then they're just they're 9-0 since those first 3 games against Baltimore, which that's what you got to do against bad teams. We've said it all year, right? Let's move to the 4th game of the series. We had Masahiro Tanaka. The sun will come out. Tanaka.
actually,
Oh, Jake, you wanted to add something?
well, I mean, this is the whole pod to this point has been lots of fun and whatnot, but I guess in terms of a downer would be the whole CC Sabathia development. If you want to,
Oh yeah. I was gonna mention that a little later. I think I'm really not as down about that as much because look, it's he's kind of had this every year the last few years, kind of just like that IL stint, drain his knee, probably only miss a start, maybe 2, but hopefully only misses a start. It's no big deal. Hopefully we get Paxton back later in the week or the beginning of next week to to kind of heal I can't find the word right now to yeah, exactly, to replace him, but they're going to have a bullpen day Friday, right, for Friday's game against Kansas City. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the show. But, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal with CC. I think this was kind of expected. It happened a little bit earlier than it usually does. It usually happens in, the middle of the summer. But, hey, he's been pitching well. Probably just missed a start, right? No big deal. I think we'll have CC back by second week of June.
Yeah, knock on wood. CC,
Yeah,
he's got to be healthy for the for down the stretch for the playoffs, since we can give him a proper start.
His ERA, by the way, is 3.48 after that start. Got his 3rd win. So yeah, it's been what we expected of him, right? Just solid, consistent, solid, good CC. 4th game of the set, we had Masahiro Tanaka versus Dylan Bundy, and Bundy looked pretty. I think Bundy's their best pitcher, despite him not having all that good numbers this year. He's still a pretty solid pitcher. Had a pretty good game. And, so did Tanaka. 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Looked like he took a line drive off the chest. I think his glove partially deflected at least, but that was a bit of a scary moment. But overall, I mean, he was great. Only allowed 1 run in the second. He threw 30, 35 pitches in the second inning, had the bases loaded with no outs, and the Baltimore only got 1 run out of it. So that was a big win. Clint hitting another home run this series, right? Solo shot in the 5th, ties the game. 6th inning, bases loaded. Gio Urshela comes up, 2-run base hit. He's now 4 for 4 this year with the bases loaded. Just ridiculous. Talk about clutch hitters. Austin Romine getting an RBI single in the 7th. Luke Voigt hitting a long ball in the 8th. It's all going sailing smooth, right? Gleyber and Gary, by the way, were both sitting this game. A lot of people were mad about that, but you really can't hate it. I know Gleyber and Gary it was almost guaranteed one of them would hit a home run if they both played this game. But hey, you're in it for the long haul, right? And even if you were to have lost this game, it's not the biggest deal. So, anyways, it's 5-1 right in the 8th inning, and things are looking good. Jonathan Holder comes back out for a 2nd inning of work, and kind of imploded, right? He allows some hits, get some walks. Tommy Kahnle comes in and gives up the long ball, right? Gives up the 3-run shot to Nunez. It's a tie game, 5-5. Out of nowhere, it was a nice, relaxing, stress-free game, and then all of a sudden it's 5-5 and going into the 9th inning. But man, was Givens came in, and my God, he have no control. I mean, it reminded me, when Chapman just doesn't have any control, can't find the zone for shit. I mean, you could tell he in that last at bat when he was facing Hicks, he just he was trying to throw every pitch right down the middle, and it was just going every which direction. The Yanks load the bases in the 9th. Aaron Hicks gets up, 2 outs, bases loaded, and gets the walk, flips the bat, pimps it. What a boss. That turned out to be the winning run. Chappie did not come in. We all thought Chappie was going to come in. Zack Britton came on in the 9th because Chappie pitched the day before. He gets the save. 9-pitch save. Yankees win. Yankees get the sweep. Yankees dominate Baltimore. Great win. Great series. But, man, this game got a little bit scary at the end. The bullpen's been pretty stellar, throughout the last few weeks. But this was a little bit of a terrible performance, to say the least. And you really can't get that mad because the culprit was Jonathan Holder. And, he can't even complain all that much that the situation he was in was a good one, right? It was a pretty comfortable lead, and he's out there for a second inning of work, trying to eat some innings, trying to extend your bullpen because you don't really have an off day after this series. So try to get some innings for your bullpen, and it didn't work out, right? It happens. And people like, Canley's in. The pitch Canley gave up a home run on wasn't even really a bad pitch, right? It kind of just was a good piece of hitting by Nunez. Shit happens. But Canley ends up getting the win. Yankees, I mean, the game-winning walk. I mean, what a way to win a game. I remember the Yankees lost a game like that last year with Betances, when he was going through his bad stretch. So we know how it feels, but
yeah. I mean, you could tell that Givens did not have it. I mean, he has that. The announcers always like to comment on his sidearm, slinging type delivery, but he came in and threw. I mean, just to Hicks alone, he threw 3 consecutive, I guess, fastballs, 3 consecutive pitches.
He almost hit Voit and Hicks 5 times.
Voit. It
wasn't anything intentional. It was like, dude, this guy does not have the zone for shit right now. You could literally be up there with the bat on the ground, and I don't think he'd find the zone. That's how out of control this dude was.
He almost hit Hicks on 3 consecutive pitches, and then so naturally Ken Singleton goes oh, well, is he going to throw 3 strikes before he throws one more ball? And then naturally he throws 2 fastballs perfectly right down the middle. It's a 3-2 count, and then he missed badly with the last one. But I mean,
he went for the 3-2 changeup, which was just such a bold move, and it just wasn't anywhere close. Oh man,
I mean, I'm a little not annoyed. I'm not going to knock Boone for it, but I feel like with Jonathan Holder, if you send him out for a second inning, you're almost begging for something to happen. Not that he's bad, but I feel like if you get one clean inning out of Jonathan Holder, you should just be all right, cool, and then move on to the next guy.
He's done it before, gotten multiple innings, but yeah, and I don't hate it because it's the 4th game of the series. You're in the middle of a pretty long road trip. Yeah, you try to extend the bullpen. If you don't have to use Ottavino, if you don't have to use Chappie, if you don't have to use, your good guy, you don't have to. But just things got out of control quickly today.
I just feel like Boone. This is the primary reason we knock him. I feel is when he tries to quote unquote steal outs. You got a clean inning out of him. He's not your one of your top 3 or even 4 guys. You got the clean inning. Don't try and steal the outs, especially now that the game is, the game at that point was starting to go. He walked the first 2 batters of that inning. Just let it you had even Sessa, whoever, just bring in someone else.
I agree. Well, with this 4-game series, being that there's 2 of us, we're going to have 2 players of the series. And, if you don't know who those 2 guys are, you should probably stop listening to the podcast. But before we say who those guys are, because it's pretty obvious, shout out to Luke Voit, because Luke Voit had a great series. I think he was 7 for 19, hit that home run. He's starting to get it going again. Chappie had a great series. Tanaka had a great start. There's a lot of guys deserving of player of the series, but I mean, when you just mashing dingers and having multi-homer games, it's pretty hard not to get to you. So, G, start it off. Who was your player of the series?
All right, so my player of the series was Gary Sánchez, and
wow, that's surprising. Wow, hot take.
Left field for sure. He had 6 hits. He had 3 home runs and 9 RBIs in the series, and he had the pinch hit single that helped him set up the ultimately game-winning walk
Mm-hmm.
in today's game. But he helped them come all the way back. They tied the game, and he hit the game. Ultimately game-winning runs. He had an absolute laser beam in that game on Monday. He had an absolute bomb on Tuesday. Hit another nice home run the next day, and he is just absolutely crushing the ball right now. And yeah, there you go, Gary Sánchez. Keep doing it.
Absolutely. It's like I said, he just looks so comfortable at the plate. He's just seeing the ball so well. Like that home run he had off Givens. I mean, that was a 98-mile-per-hour fastball coming in on his hands at like a weird angle. That's a tough pitch to hit, and he just ripped it down the line. It was just unbelievable. He was almost out in front of that pitch. It's incredible.
You can tell how locked in he is because that he took that 98 mile-an-hour fastball and hit an absolute laser into the seats, and then came up the next night and hit just one of those
440
high arcing, just towering moonshots. And it could be like 91 or 98. Like it didn't even matter. I didn't even know that pitch was 98 because he hit it like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, G had Gary, my player of the series, Gleyber Torres, Gleyber Day, Gleyber of the month. He had 2 multi-homer games this series, 4 homers overall, 5 RBIs. He didn't even play in Thursday's game other than a pinch hit in the last inning, which he walked. It's funny, him and Gary both pinch hit in the last inning or in the 9th inning on Thursday. Gary got a hit, Gleyber walked, and it was actually Gary's first career pinch hit. Pinch hit. He was 0 for his first 9 and pinch hitting, and that was his first hit. So a fun little nugget there. But yeah, Gleyber Torres, it's just incredible. 10 of his 12 home runs this year have come against Baltimore. But get this stat from Katie Sharp. Gleyber Torres, at 22 years, 160 days old, is the youngest player in AL history with 6 career multi-homer games. I mean, you want to talk about fucking history, just going back. I mean, 6 multi-homer games before you turn 23, and he's got a full year left to get a few more, right? That was just Gleyber's 4th multi-homer game against the season, and all 4 have come against the Orioles. That leads the MLB, by the way, multi-homer games. I also saw the nickname on Twitter, Gleyber Ruth. I like that one. Whoever came up with that. Kudos, props. But yeah, I mean, I've complained about Gleyber's defense a little bit this year, but goddamn, if he keeps hitting like this, he could do whatever he wants in the field. It doesn't matter. It's the guy is just locked in. Hopefully, he could carry. He could start doing this against some other teams because he look through the Yankees have played the Orioles 12 times. They have, I believe, 7 games left because a game or 2 got rained out. So I think they have 7 games left against Baltimore. I mean, he could end up with 13, 14 home runs against them this year. It could be what's the record for most home runs against the team in a season? Because him and Gary are both should go for it against Baltimore. They gotta be on pace to do so. Oh man,
I'm gonna say something to what we sort of say about Andujar, except not quite that extreme because Gleyber, I think, is a much better natural defender. If you're gonna hit like this, you don't even need to be that great of a defender. Some of his errors, I feel like they're not quite so much on ability as they are just focus and being a young player and inexperience and all that sort of cliche type stuff. But I mean, if he's going to hit like this, the defense is almost gravy. And I mean, he's going to be playing second base hopefully before long when Didi comes back. And I think, getting back to what will likely be his position long term, I think will be good just in terms of routine. But if he's going to hit like this, and I don't think he's exactly the player that we peg to be a 30 home run guy. But I mean, if he's going to hit like this, then
he could be on his way there, man. He's just incredible. Really, we've talked about how he really never put up great power numbers in the minors, but the scouts had always said, look, he's going to start hitting homers when he gets to the majors because that's just his. He's still developing. He's still so young, but let's let's go in a little bit of a negative now. You got to talk about some of the negatives, and I want to talk about J Happ because after it looked like he was starting to turn the corner he had a good start against Seattle, had a good start against the Orioles last time out when he faced them in the Yankee Stadium. Well, he wasn't great, still allowed 2 home runs, but overall he was solid, right? Got back-to-back wins. And then on Monday, he, probably his worst start of the season, 6 earned runs, 9 hits. He's now given up 13 home runs this season. He's given up multiple homers, I believe, in 3 of his last 4 starts. He's now 3-3 at the 5.16 ERA this year. Just the home run ball is it's just such. He's got to cut it out. And I know it's such a hard fix, but we've seen it with Tanaka. Like, your numbers could overall be okay, not terrible, but if you're giving up a lot of home runs, like, your ERA is just going to go up. Because look, Happ's WHIP right now is only 1.3, which isn't great, but it's not bad. It's kind of around league average. His career WHIP is 1.31, so he's right around his career WHIP. But you can't be giving up 13 home runs in less than, I think he's had like only 10 starts, 11 starts. I mean, he's given up more than a home run per start. It's a big problem, and you really wonder how long he's going to stay in the rotation if he continues to pitch like this, because better options can present themselves, whether it's in AAA, whether it's on the trade block, wherever. I mean, the Yankees, they can't afford to have a guy pitching this poorly, especially a guy that they're paying, 18 million pretty much this year. It's been a big problem.
He's at 52 innings so far this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 52 innings, 13 home runs. He's not ideal, not good at all. Go on, G.
Sorry, I was going to say before I give my opinion on J Happ, the most home runs by any player against a single team in a season is Lou Gehrig against the Cleveland Indians in 1936. He hit 14 home runs.
14. See, they could get, like, Gleyber could get that. He's at 10, and they have 7 or 8 games. Let's say he plays in 7, 8 games. And like, he could get that. He could hit 5 home runs over 8
really
games.
good. I mean,
that's not crazy. So even Gary would be a little tougher, obviously, because I think he's at. I think Gary's at 9 homers against Baltimore.
Well, I mean, Gary, I feel like I'd be even a little bit. I feel like I'd be maybe a little bit less surprised if Gary just continued on a ridiculous homer bid. Anyone, but like, it's honestly absurd how close they are already to that record. Like, J Happ is definitely concerning. I mean, it's still quote unquote only May, so. And I think it's maybe the concerns are amplified because CC's on the DL now. Paxton is. Has been hurt for a couple weeks. Severino, obviously, well documented, but he's older, and that's always a concern. If it continues, closer to the All-Star break and into the second half of the season, I will definitely. He's one of those guys that, if he's pitching like that, then you'd probably just stick him in the bullpen for the playoffs and roll with, the top guys. But, he was really good down the stretch, after they got him last season. And I feel like some of these older guys, you have to kind of, build in a period of time at the beginning of the season where you're just well, they're older. They're just kind of, getting going or, something like that. As it gets more into, June, if he doesn't start to maybe be a little more consistent, then you might have to worry about making a move or, putting him, in the bullpen or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see, how the rotation shakes out later in the year. With, if we get Sevy back, Paxton's healthy, Herman's still pitching the way he is, CC. What if there's not a spot for Happ, right? What if, Tanaka, he might be the odd man out if he keeps pitching like this. We'll see. For now, he's safe, obviously, because with all the injuries his team has. If you're healthy and you're on the MLB, if you're healthy right now and you're on the MLB roster to start the year, you're not going anywhere, right? You're sticking it out.
The thing that we, the fans, I don't think accounted for was Domingo Germán pitching as good as.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If the Yankees did, then they definitely didn't tell us. But we definitely didn't account for Domingo Germán pitching an ace or anything close to it. So, that would definitely be something that would put maybe, I guess, Happ, big money aside, that would be something that would put his spot at risk if he continues to pitch like this and you get back to a full 5-man rotation, since the Yankees seem hesitant to do a 6-man rotation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's go over some injury news and notes. Start off with a little bit of a negative. Stanton came back for a rehab appearance and hit a home run. Right, got a hit, played 5 innings, but was then pulled, and he's now no longer rehabbing due to a left calf strain, even though he got hit in the knee, or I don't know. It's confusing. The Yankees injuries, their medical staff this year in general has been confusing and vague and mysterious and awful.
I'm not even sure you can call it a setback because it's
whatever. Business as usual. Positive news and notes. Didi's has hit all his necessary checkpoints as he recovers from TJ surgery. He played 5 innings at shortstop in an extended spring training game on May 20th, and he was the DH on the 22nd. And they say he's nearing a minor league rehab assignment, so hopefully we get Didi back maybe mid-June. They're saying maybe June or July. Let's see. There's so many guys. Obviously, Andujar's out for the year. Betances is expected to return from June. He's starting to throw from 120 feet. Aaron Judge was taking some dry hacks in the cages in this series. Obviously, he's still a bit away. Tulo, obviously, he had another guy who had a setback, but they say he should be back in second or third week of June.
And Tulo, as the positive Didi news came rolling in, apparently went to the team and said that he'd be willing to. They said he was taking grounders at third base so that he could be a little bit more flexible because the whole anticipation of Didi coming back and being fine, which is pretty cool. You could tell that he's definitely wants to be here and wants to be a Yankee.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Paxton, he's scheduled to throw 3 innings and around 60 pitches in a simulated game on Friday, and he may be activated after that if everything goes according to plan. So, like I said, hopefully we'll have Paxton back next week. That'll take away from CC being out. Yeah, CC should only be out, maybe miss a start or two. He could possibly be back before the end of the month, but. Yeah, other guys like Jordan Montgomery and Johnny Lasagna, both expected back in July. Still no timetable on Judge or Greg Bird. Yeah, that's, like I said, I think every show we've talked about injuries. We talk about who's out, who's coming back, who had a setback. It's the theme of the New York Yankees. Like, we're going to do the first quarter show in the next couple of days, and goddamn, I feel like we're just going to be talking about injuries like the whole show because that's been the story of the first quarter, right? It's
and then
injury
is going to roll around and they're going to be healthy and the pods are going to be like 10 minutes shorter.
Yeah, right. So it usually happens. Just trying to see because I always feel like every time I go through the injuries, I always feel like I forgot someone, right? Like, I'm like, no, there's someone else that's injured that either came back or is just, just somewhere doing something. Before we get into the wrap the show up and go into the Kansas City series preview, just wanted to. I'm not going to pull up. We'll probably do this on Sunday show. We'll pull up specific tweets from our Twitter mentions. But man, it's so funny how people are still just I'm not saying people are still mad, but you see people still trying to justify them being mad at this team, and at this point it's like, look, you're dumb. This team's in first place. They're 2 games in first place. They're one of the best teams in baseball. Like we said, they pretty much still only have half their team. It's literally almost impossible to get mad at this team. Going into Thursday's game, they could have lost that game. I'm not going to say 10-0 because it's still Baltimore and they're still awful, but they could have lost that game, and I wouldn't have had, you couldn't be mad. It's like, all right, they still took 3 out of 4, had a comeback win. They're doing well in the road trip. It's so hard to complain about this team. With all the wins they've gotten, all the unlikely heroes, it's really just, it's been fun. It's like we said, I never thought it would be this fun without guys like Judge and Stanton and Sevy and Betances and Didi. It's been awesome. It really has. But Yeah, we'll have some good tweets hopefully on Sunday's show from the good people of Yankees Twitter, because even in years prior when everything's been going great, in 2017 when it was just such like a happy year, such a exceeding expectations, there were still just people on Yankees Twitter who were just miserable as all hell. And hey, that's Yankees Twitter. What are you gonna do? Gee, anything else to add about the wonderful world of our Twitter feed?
No. Just keep it just keep it reasonable. Don't get too galaxy brain with the tweets.
Yeah.
Just tweet us good thoughts, because the Yankees, especially on the health front, need good thoughts right now.
Oh yeah, especially on the health front. They're doing well in the field, but that training staff is still not doing its job.
If you look on the Yankees website, under the depth chart, and they tell you who's unavailable due to injury. They tell you everything like a regular depth chart. But like if you go to any old team at the beginning of the season when they're healthy, and they would usually list like 5 or 6 guys as like starting pitchers. And right now the Yankees have 3 guys listed. They have Happ and Tanaka and Herman, and that's it. As their starting pitchers. Everyone else is hurt.
Yep, that's just the way it's gone this season. But yeah, so the next series, it's going to be in Kansas City, 3-game set against the Royals. Just another bad team, right? Kansas City's 17-32 this year. They're last place in the Central. The games are at, I think, 8:15 on Friday and then 2:15 on Saturday and Sunday. Friday's game, it will be started by Chad Green. So the Yankees doing a bullpen day, right? Didn't exactly go according to plan last time they did. It still won the game, but it was just very ugly in the beginning with Green and Cortez. It will be Green versus Eunice Friday, Happ versus Duffy Saturday, and then Herman versus Lopez on Sunday. Not looking forward to J Happ. I feel like J Happ, that's like a start. J Happ's just destined to just once again blow up. Like Saturday afternoon game against the Royals in Kansas City. Oof. But
speak it out of existence.
Really,
talk about it so much that it doesn't happen.
Reverse jinx. The Royals still have some good hitters. Obviously, Whit Merrifield having a really good year. Hunter Dozier, Horace Soler. So they've Royals have some decent hitters, right? But the Royals are very similar to Baltimore, right? Like both those teams have solid not great offenses, but solid, like respectable offenses. And then you just look at their pitching staffs. Like the Kansas City pitching staff has a 5.23 ERA. Like
Baltimore and Kansas City, Baltimore has the worst.
Go on.
Sorry, Baltimore has the worst team ERA in the league, and Kansas City has the second worst.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I was about to say they're probably the 2 worst pitching teams in baseball, and there you go. Their only good pitcher is Danny Duffy, who's only had 5 starts this year. He's pitched well, but the Yankees aren't going to be facing him. It's just like I'm looking at these numbers for Kansas City, and I might just shut off my laptop. They're that bad.
And Aaron Judge isn't in the lineup for Jacob Junis to throw at. So
yeah, right. He's had a terrible year, 5.69 ERA. So this should be another series, right? Or excuse me, the Yankees do face Duffy Saturday. I misread that. So hey, they're gonna fit the Yankees Saturday's game, right? You have Happ on the mound for the Yankees and then Duffy on the mound for the Royals. That's a game the Royals could steal. If there's the game they're most likely to win, it'll probably be Saturday. But I mean, how do you feel real quick? How do you feel about Chad Green being the opener for Friday's game after he's just forget about before they sent him down. I mean, even since he's come back, he really hasn't been all that great, but Boone still trusted him to be the opener in Friday night's game.
I mean, I'm kind of torn on it because, I'd like to believe, in guys, and his stuff seems like it maybe ticked up a little bit. He's hitting, the high 90s with his fastball. I like to believe that he could still get back to the 2017 Chad Green, but at this point, it's definitely concerning. And if he's going to start a game, then I guess I just have to look at it like he's just going to start. And if he gives up a lead, then they have as much time as they could ever have in a game to get back into it.
He just needs to be – he doesn't even need to be the 2017 Chad Green. He just needs to be anybody but the 2019 Chad Green, the April 2019 Chad Green. Anybody but that guy, and we'll be all good, you know? Oh, man. But, yeah, it's going to be hopefully another series win for the Yanks. By the way, just to look ahead to next week, they'll play the Padres at home Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then it will be a 4-game set at home, 4-game set at home to Boston. So going to face the Red Sox again. And then finally, the Yankees will face off against the Toronto Blue Jays. They have not played the Toronto Blue Jays yet, but Tuesday, June 4th, that will all change.
The young phenom Vlad Jr.
Yeah, right. So really not like a murderous schedule ahead, right? Pretty manageable. The best team they play in like the next month is Houston, 4-game set at home against the good old Stros, who seem like they're probably the best team in baseball right now, right? At least until the Yankees get healthy. But that's all we got. Like I said, we'll probably have our quarter show coming up the next couple of days. I know we've said that the last couple of shows, but this time we're for real. It's, by the way, shout out to one of our co-hosts, Andrew, celebrating his birthday today. That's why he's not on. Happy birthday, Andrew. I guess his dinner is more important than the podcast. Like, what's up with that? Right? These guys need to have his priorities straight. But oh man, that'll be our show. For Matt, for G, this was the Bronx Bomber Ballad Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time. Gleyber and Gary own the Orioles.